Hi guys, TechUno here with something a bit different today. Today I'm doing a PC build log. Now the aim of this build is gaming under $100. So, I'll be showing the parts that I bought, the prices that I spent on them, and then we'll be putting the PC together. So there's a few different ways I could go about this, and I actually bought a few sets of hardware to show you what you can get for what sort of prices. The first set I bought was this Core 2 Duo motherboard. It came with a E6750, which is a 2.6 GHz Core 2 Duo, and 8 gigs of DDR2. Now this would have been a decent build, and I actually put it in the system for a while just to test how well it worked, and it was decent. I ended up swapping the CPU for a Pentium, which I got for free from the school IT, but I ended up buying some other hardware just because this was severely CPU bottlenecking the GPU that I bought. So the other hardware that I bought was this. This is an AM2 motherboard. Now I forgot to mention this motherboard cost me $2.80 with the CPU in it, and the RAM was $10. I bought this FM2 Plus motherboard, FM2 motherboard, which has lots of benefits such as stronger CPUs, support for DDR3, and AMD onboard graphics, which is far. This doesn't even have onboard graphics. Not that I'll be using the graphics in this too much, I don't think. So I bought this for $5 with the CPU, being an AMD A4 4000, which is a much stronger CPU than the Pentium I had in the other. Bought 4 gigs of RAM for $17.50 off a friend. It was a really good deal. And so that'll be plenty for this kit, for this system. I bought, down here you can see, a GTX 260 Gainwood that I bought for $20 off another friend. You can pick these up pretty readily availably for $20. The PSU for this one is a bit different to what I was planning. So I went to buy this case, which you will see here. It was just a cheap case I got off Gumtree, but a decent looker that was in relatively good condition and fit my hardware that I wanted to put in it. And it came with a power supply, not this power supply. It came with a Zalman 500 watt semi-modular job, which was actually so good that I ended up putting it in my main rig. So I bought the case and the power supply for $20. So I'm just going to pretend that I used the $20 power supply, even though I ended up using my $60 Antec power supply. $61 make that, which is still a very solid power supply. It's just that I got a very good deal on the one that was in this system when I bought it. That came with a motherboard and a CPU, but the motherboard's dead, so we sort of forgot about that. But for $20 I bought it just for the case and power supply. Right, so now on to putting the system together. Oh, I forgot to mention, I got a 250 gigabyte Seagate drive off IT for free because it was a really noisy drive and they didn't want it anymore. But it's perfectly good. It's already got Windows installed on it. It's been working fine for me. No data corruption or anything. And the CPU came with the AMD stock heatsink, which will be fine for us. So now to putting it together. First of all, we get the CPU. The 4000. Be careful not to touch the pins. We find the little arrow on the corner of the motherboard, and we match it up with the corner of the CPU. Then we just put it in so the holes match up properly. Pull down the retention arm, and the CPU is now tightly mounted in there. The next thing we should do is get a bit of thermal paste. Some should come on the CPU cooler. In this case it had been taken off and it was quite old, so I decided I'm going to put some new stuff on it because new thermal paste equals better temperatures. Hang on, so I'll just put this down here so I can get the lid off the thermal paste. There we go. So just a small dab in the middle like that will work fine. No need to spread it out. As soon as you put the heatsink on, that'll do that for you. So just put the lid back on that. The next thing we should do is we should mount the CPU cooler. So we figure out where the fan cable is going to connect to. In this case it's that little 4-pin connected there. So we make sure that the wires on that side. So pull it down and onto, it'll hook underneath there. Slide it down and on. Make sure that it gets in the middle, because it's not going to work if it's not in the middle. So it's sitting a bit over to the side. There we go. And we flip it around the other side. So you can see both clips are firmly on the motherboard connectors. We pull up on the retention arm and it'll clip in. I'm not sure if these come pre-mounted or not, but they're just as simple as screwing them on and screwing the back plate on, so I'm pretty sure that's self-explanatory. The next thing we do is we install the RAM. So you want to pull the clip out on the end of your motherboard if it's not already out. Work out which has got the long side of pins. Find the motherboard which the long side of pins goes on. Put it in the slot closest to the CPU in this case, and it should slide down. You should hear a click as it clicks in. No click on that side because it's got a retention arm that doesn't move. So that's the motherboard and CPU and RAM installed. So the next thing we have to do is put it all in the case. So the first job with the case is to put in the motherboard standoffs. It should be screwed in. Have a look at your motherboard and see where the holes are for motherboard standoffs. In this case it's going to be different depending on the different size motherboard you end up getting. I got a micro ATX, so if we look here we can see it's got six I think. Yep, 6 holes for screws. One there, 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 there and there. So you find the corresponding 6 holes on the motherboard. So in this case it's there, here, and so you can get that in. Is it? Yeah, it's there. So screw that in. Just finger screws is tight enough. That's a funny standoff. Don't know what's that one. So I'll take one from elsewhere. Then we're going to have one here. And then one over there, it's already in there, and then close on the other side over there. This is, and finally one over here. This is a micro ATX motherboard. Some others you might come across are ATX, potentially extended ATX or eATX, but unlike the micro ATX, which I've already said, and mini ITX or ITX motherboards. So they all come in different shapes and sizes, and the case will just fit them all, unless you get a really super tiny case. So next we install the IO shield, so work out which way is the right way up. So in this case it's going to be this way, and then the audio bank's generally on the far side from closest to us, but just check with your motherboard. That should just slot in there. And it should go click. Oh. Sorry if this is at a weird angle for you guys. I'm finding it a bit difficult to put in while filming. Click, 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 click. And it's all installed in there. This case has already had the fan installed, so there's a fan in the back and a fan in the front. It's got some DVD drives, but these are IDE, which we don't have any connectors for on the motherboard, so they'll just be in there and not actually doing anything. That's okay, and it's got a card reader and USB ports on there. So next thing to do is to move all the cables out of the way, like that. Then we get the things in the right space. We put in the motherboard. So you should find a spot where it sort of just feels like it fits. It doesn't want to go in. Why does it want to go in? I think this IO plate's just bending inwards. Oh, it's not clipped in that corner. Oh, there we go. So now it should fit. You want to just find the spot where it fits like that. So there we go, that'll fit nicely. So now we need to grab the screws for our motherboard. They should look something like that. That's not focusing very well. Something like that. It should, if you've got a motherboard manual, it should show you what screws, or case manual, it should show you what screws you need to put in. Oh, we've missed the spot. So it's going to be very hard for me to show you guys me putting in the screws, so I apologise for that, but you can see, just put the screw in the hole, and then you just screw it on down till it's tight. There's no need to over tighten it, just till it feels firm. And then so you just follow that process with every single screw. So there should be 6 on this motherboard, there might be more on yours. So the next thing you'll want to do is plug in all your motherboard I/O and fans. We'll do that. We've got our USBs here. So you can see that there's be one slot on the USB that's not got a wire in it. So that should match up to the corresponding slot on the motherboard. Yep, I think that's USB, isn't it? Yep. So yeah, make sure you just get all of them in. Let me just have a look. Check, that's. Okay, no, I put that in wrong. It's in right now. So where's that cable go? Okay, that's 2 headers come off one. Audio should, this case it's 1394 audio, so we need to find the corresponding thing for that. I don't know if it has it on this motherboard. It appears to have communications, which I think is what we're looking for, so we'll plug it into that. If it goes in. No. Okay. No, that's not the right socket. Ah, there we go. Front panel audio. Oh. No, it's still not the right one. No, I don't think this has the audio for this. So it looks like, oh no, here we go. This will be HD audio. There we go. So wherever that, there we go. So it's going to go on that one. Oh, 1394. Of course, that's not audio. That's fire port, whatever, firewire port. Okay, so we need to get those cables out of the way. Then we'll have the front panel ones. So first thing we want to do is find our power switch, because that's the most important. Not hard drive LED. Power switch. We want to find the corresponding power switch thing on the front panel. So in this case, it appears to be there, I think, yep. Power LED is the next one across, so we need to find that. Where is that? That doesn't tell us what that is. It just says plus minus. Hard drive LED. That's what that one is. And I apologise for this, well, not great filming, but it's hard to build a computer and film at the same time. So it goes in that way, I think. If you put an LED in backwards, it just won't turn on, so it's not like it's going to be dangerous. Plug in that. that into their corresponding spots. And then the last one, which is the grey one, is this reset switch. Resets those two, I believe. Again, probably not the most important things. Alright, so I can leave that now. Next step. The next step, of course, is putting in the power supply. So, this is very simple. In this case, you can't draw air from the top, so you've got to draw air from inside the case. Now make sure that your power supply has plenty of wattage and amperage to power the system. In this case, 500 watts with 456 watts of that being able to be drawn on the 12-volt rail is more than enough. So we lift it up and we put it in its spot, and we slide her on in, and it will just slide in like that and sit down. So you can see there it fits nice and snugly in there. And we turn around and have a look at the back. You can see the back there. It takes 4 screws. So find the corresponding screws. Mine look a bit like that, but they often look quite different. Oh no, this is the wrong screw. They look like that, but they often look like the other ones I just held up. They can really it's just whatever your motherboard or case tells you to use. So just put the screws in, slide them around a little bit. Again, this is really hard to film, as I'm trying to screw, so I'm going to put those down there and then show you putting in the bottom one. In this case it's a bit hard to fit because there's a fan filter that sort of gets in the way of the case. But you can see there that it'll smudge out the way a little bit. So screw it in and do the same with the 4 other ports, the 4 other spots. So the next thing we want to do is grab the hard drive and install that before we plug in all the power cables. So in this case, I am, and pun 100% intended there, I'm going to put it in that slot. It seems like a good slot, and this case just has toolless. Some cases you might need to screw it in. In this case you just slide that forwards and that'll lock the hard drive in place, so that's not going anywhere now. You need a SATA cable. These should come with whatever case or whatever you buy, or the motherboard. In this case I just got a standard grey one. Find a SATA port that's not going to be in the way of your graphics card. So in this case I think these two may be in the way of the graphics card, so I'm just going to plug it in down here. Shouldn't matter what SATA port you plug it into, they should all work. So we get the SATA cable and we plug that into the hard drive. Now we need to remember to plug in SATA power on the hard drive in a minute. So the next job for us to do is, forgot to plug in the fans, so that's important to plug in the fans. It's not 100% important, but it's very useful. That's going to drop there. Okay, that's unplugged. Where's a fan socket? Doesn't have another one. Plug in and grab them. So a Molex adapter came for the fan with this one, so we'll grab that. We'll put it on the high speed, which in this case is, actually in most cases, is the red and black, and we'll plug that in when we plug the power supply things in a second. So the next job is plugging in the power supply. First thing we want to do is get the cables all sorted so they're not a big bundled mess like it is here. There we go. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get the 22 plus 4 pin. You're going to want to make sure that it lines up on the right side. So there will be a retention clip on the motherboard that you'll see that the power supply connector will plug into. So make sure that those two are on the same side. Then I like to plug in the 4 pin first, because that way it's already in there, and then on this power supply the retention clips on the 4 pin that connects it to the 24 on the underneath, and then connect in the 24 pin and it'll go click. Next thing we need to do is plug in the CPU fan. Probably should have done that earlier. right in, so plug that in. Why is it not going in? There we go, so it's in now. And then we'll want to plug in a 4-pin for the power, CPU power. So it's an ATX 12 volt. You should have one or two of these connectors or more on your power supply. So they should just plug straight into this motherboard like that. The next thing we want to do is plug in the hard drive. So we get a SATA power connector like that, and we just clip it on in there. There we go, so that's in. Right, so that's all the power supply things sorted for now. Everything's got power. So the next job is to put in the hard drive. Not the hard drive, the graphics card. So we'll be back in a second to do that. Right, so this case is a bit weird about graphics cards, and it doesn't like having them screwed in, but with a bit of gentle persuasion I finally got it screwed in. So just put in the second screw here. Make sure to touch the case every now and then to drain the anti-static from the self so you don't accidentally zap a component. Try not to touch PCBs where you don't have to, so don't touch circuit boards if you don't have to. So, and you should also leave the power supply plugged in but switched off at the back and switched off at the wall, as that will help drain the power out of the case. So connect the 6-pin PCI Express connectors for the graphics card. It's pretty easy, just click them in, and theoretically we should be ready to go. So you have to connect up your power cable, your monitors, and USB, mouse, and keyboard, and that should be it. Should be ready to go. So here we are, moment of truth. Make sure you've got the power supply plugged in, which I'd forgotten to do. So the power supply plugged in and plugged in up there. So everything should be theoretically ready to go. So let's go. Press the power button. Fans turn on, that's a good sign. Let's watch the screens. See what we get. We should get press delete to enter UEFI BIOS. So here we go. New CPU installed. So it recognises 4 drives, 1 keyboard, 1 mouse. Then my SATA 3 drive, my CPU. Press F1 to run setup. So there we go. We should be able to run setup here. Okay, so that's just auto adjusted on my my screen there. So so here we go. Let's have a look. Okay, so we're going to go to advanced mode because we don't want to be in normal boring mode. So yeah, it's recognising our RAM, it's recognising our CPU is an A4 4000, which is what it is. So if we go into AI Tweaker, target CPU speed, select item. So that allows us to change our CPU speed. We'll just leave that at 3000 for now. We've got the CPU voltage and stuff down here. Not going to touch any of that for now. We're just going to leave it. Advanced CPU configuration. Yep, that all seems to be fine. SATA, check that that's enabled. Yep, so that's all good. It sees 250 gig drive, so that should be alright. Monitors, let's look at temps. CPU 31, motherboard 27, CPU fan 2000 RPM, so that's very quiet at the moment. It's not got any load, but it's very quiet. Fan profile we want to manual. Fan max duty cycle 100% at 70. So let's change that to 60 Celsius. So that'll ramp the fans up earlier. Anti-surge support, yep. Boot, fast boot enabled. Which we want, USB, okay. So we want to exit, save changes and reset. No, we want to, yeah, save changes and reset. So now, does it boot? If it posts, that's usually a good sign. The fact that it posted first time is great. So here we go, it should boot now. Then we can get into some games. So it looks like it's booting. As you can hear, that hard drive's loud, which is why I got it for free, but it works, so I'm not going to complain. Yeah, wow, it's very loud. It's not that loud when you've got a case side panel on, of course. Sounds like it's dying, but as long as it doesn't corrupt, I'm fine with that. It's taking a fair while to boot. But it's the first boot with the new CPU and motherboard and RAM, so that's fair enough. Now this board is capable of some overclocking, so I'll be looking into that later, doing some overclocking. As I've heard with the A4, you should even be able to overclock a fair bit on the stock cooler. So you should be able to get 3 GHz plus plus 0.4 overclock, or even higher on the stock cooler. And of course the RAM you can overclock as well, but you know, it's not that necessary unless you're using the APU GPU section, in which case the RAM affects performance quite a lot. So still loading here. I'll skip back. I'll skip to when it's got it booted. So here we are, it booted into Windows, which is great news. We can go into MSI Afterburner and show you some temps of what the system is getting when it opens. So here we go, GPU temperature of 44, so that's not too bad. I know for a fact that this GPU, the load temp's not much higher than the idle temp for some reason. So we scroll down. CPU temperature is reading at 15 degrees, but AMD is known for having incredibly inaccurate temperature readings. That's not bad, seeing as the max temperature for this is 70 degrees Celsius. We've got Wi-Fi connected through a little USB adapter I put in. So we should find, I have a stress test on here called heavy load, which should put the CPU to the stress test and see what we get temperature wise. So click to play. So running 100% load, and the CPU is cool, very cool to say the least. So yeah, we'll just go into some settings. If we go control panel, put the system in high performance. Should be under power options. So yep, it's already in high performance, which is good. That's what we want it to be in. So now we'll go into task manager. Task manager, and we'll set this heavy, or a bunch of heavy modes opened, and that one, and that one, and then that one. Go more details, we see that the CPU is being hit very hard by Windows Module Installer, but that's okay. So what we'll do is press go. And we're not going to get an accurate representation of what the CPU is capable of when it's only being able to be used 70% because of, it's hardly being used anything. So if we set the priority to high, that might give us a better idea of what it's actually capable of. even still it's only getting 40 odd % usage, which is nowhere near what it could be getting. So you can see there, wow, apparently we're out of RAM, or nearly. Okay, let's stop that, because that's just crashing the thing into the ground. We're not nearly out of RAM, we haven't even used half. But yeah, you can see the CPU's being hit up and down all over the place. Yeah, so these two, you can hear from the hard drive clicking away. I'll put the side panel on it to make it a bit quiet. But you can hear by the hard drive clicking away that it's doing something. So I'll update you guys when we've got it so that it's settled down on CPU usage, and then we'll be able to see what it's truly capable of.